Hello and welcome back to, I think this is part 6 of Project E32 750 IL Rescue. So today, as you can see, we're going to work on suspension. I got a little bit of a head start before I pulled the camera out. The car I always get a little nervous jacking up a car on a 4-post lift. It never seems that secure. But we got some jack stands, wheels, and hot tires behind that just in case something fails. The plan is to get things apart. I've got some new thrust arms. I've got some new sway bar end links for the front. I'm going to pull the strut assemblies out because I might be taking some good used shocks off of the parts car that's over in Moraga. I'm going to go check those out maybe tomorrow or Monday if not. But pull the strut assemblies out. I'm also going to see what the calipers and discs and all that look like. The discs look okay. No lip, but they are kind of rusty. I mean, this car looks like had some brake work done. There's some really good meaty pads on here before the car was parked. So they're old and they're rusty, but they're working. I need to do brake lines for sure. Clean out all of this. I took the panel off because I need to do the fuel feed and return lines. I'm not sure if they're on both sides, but I pulled there's a plastic cover that covers the stuff up over here. It has some evidence of past hydraulic leaks. It doesn't look wet or fresh, but so maybe hydro boost leak at some point in the past. Maybe it's fixed. Maybe it fixed itself. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, for a California car, things are rustier than I usually expect. Not in that anything's rotten, but there's a lot of surface rust, and it's probably just because the car sat for so long outside. Um, so I don't know if you could see that. This is with a fresh center link in there too, so I'm going to probably need to do a lot more than what I've got to make it right, but it drives terribly, and it'd be nice to make it at least drivable. The other update on this car is I've got plates, so it is now registered and California legal. I need to put it on my insurance still, but I just got the plates in the mail yesterday or the day before. So it is once I get this done, hopefully it'll be somewhat roadworthy. So this is no sponsor in any way, but I picked up. I've seen this advertised on Instagram of doing your own alignment. You put your iPhone in here, you hold it up against the wheel, and it somehow uses the gyroscope inside to measure caster, toe, camber. So you can do some minor adjustments. I'm just thinking after I do all this, I can get it kind of in the ballpark as I'm still replacing things, because I know this isn't going to be the final assembly for the front end. I know I'm going to be not really taking things apart, but going back in to do more. So we'll get a little closer. I'll give you a little better show of what's going on in here, and I'll show you the new parts. Yeah, so I got started over here, just in that I'm taking things apart so I can get the strut. I'm going to pull the whole strut assembly out, probably after I break the thrust arms loose, because I think they'll come out easier if this is kind of fixed in place. I haven't done one of these front ends for quite a while, so kind of relearning as I go. So driver's side, passenger side I haven't really touched yet, but yeah, it kind of needs everything. And then let's go to the parts count. Here's what I've got so far. Thrust arms, sway bar links, rear pitman arms. What else do we have here? We got fuel filters and a bunch of fuel line, because I need to get into the rear to do the fuel line. These are rear sway bar links. So it's a start. It's funny, a few $100s worth of parts doesn't look like much when it's sitting on your counter. But we'll get this stuff in, or we'll start working on this. I don't know if I'll get it all in. I'm going to start disassembling. It's noon here now. There's a car I want to go look at. It's about an hour and a half away. It's like, why do you want another project car when you've got a project car? But that's how it goes. So I'm going to work on it for about an hour and a half or so, see what I get done, at least try to get stuff disassembled, and then clean up and head out, maybe take a look at something else. All right, update here. This is day 2 on suspension refresh, Sunday in real time. I got everything oiled out. I was going to start I'm still missing a few pieces that I need to look a little more closely, but I think I'm going to replace the lower control arm and maybe the tie rod. May as well just do everything while it's apart. I have thrust arms that I'll put in. I'm going to do a little more cleaning up. I got sidetracked today. I don't have a lot of time, as usual, but I'm working on. I was replacing the fuel line. So these are two metal fuel pipes that go back to the tank. They're feed, and they go up to the fuel rails. And on the other side, there's a return line that goes through with one of the AC pipes, which cools the fuel before it sends it back to the tank, so the fuel doesn't get hot, I guess, and pressurized. So replaced all that stuff. One thing that is nice, I was complaining earlier about a little bit of surface rust. For being a California car, I'll get a little closer, but all the fuel lines are just perfect. All the Phillips screws that hold these little brackets in just came right out. It's just, this is the thing I feel bad about you guys that don't live in California or a rust-free climate, because it just makes it so much nicer to work on stuff. Um, Little update: I did go and look at a car yesterday. Another V12, also black, also 750 E38 gen. Um, not bad. The price was pretty reasonable, although it was still a pretty good project. It had a check engine light. It had a intermittent misfire. I mean, I've kind of been down that road. I pretty much know what to expect. Uh, being sold by a couple of guys who are flipping it, but pretty honest looking car for the money. I just don't think I want another project car that really needs work before I could enjoy it, and that's what kind of gets me with this thing. I'm not that far off to where this car is going to be drivable, but I don't have a lot of patience. So once I get into something like this, I like the idea of having it. Now I want one that I could drive like now and enjoy while I work on this. But really, a solid day's worth of work, I'd have this thing on the road, and really be pretty drivable. Tomorrow, I'm going to probably order the rest, or probably tonight, I'll order the rest of the suspension stuff. So by next weekend, I'll have everything I need. And then we'll get this thing buttoned back up. I'll bring you in a little bit closer here in a sec just to show you how things look. Still need to do some cleanup as I start reassembling, and maybe put a bucket under here or something and do a little degreasing. I don't see any active hydraulic leaks. All this oil and residue stuff, it looks like it's old. So I don't know, maybe once I start driving it, something will start leaking. I still need to do valve cover gaskets and all that stuff too. So I'm going to be taking the top part of the engine off again, apart at some point. So I'll bring you in a little closer. We'll take a little close up on what I'm talking about with fuel lines. So those are the two fuel lines, and they're just in perfect shape. The other ones are hydraulic lines for suspension, maybe brakes too. I'm not totally sure. But yeah, this is like 35-year-old hardware, and it just all comes apart. So nice. And then these are out and ready to come apart. Wheel bearings are not bad. Actually, they're pretty decent. That was the whole thing rattling. Top mounts, seen better days. Shocks, or the springs, are going to get replaced anyway. So let's take one more look in there. There's the fuel line. So there's hose that goes to the rail. There's a metal pipe that goes around the engine. And then there's a little section of hose, probably about that long, right inside of here, which is difficult to get in and out through that hole. You have to undo the brackets, pull the pipes out, and then you can undo the hose clamps from the wheel well, because there's no, unless you have the engine out or a lot of it apart, there's no way you're getting your hands down there. At least I'm not, where the fuel lines are, and I couldn't see any easier way from below either, because the steering box is in the way. So we will check back next week, maybe. Thanks for watching so far. Not much dampening. Okay, several weeks have gone by, and I did what I said I wasn't going to do, and I did a lot of work, and I didn't film any of it. So we'll go over what I've done. Pretty much most of the wear items are taken care of in the front end. Fixed a leak in one of the self-leveling pipes that just was a loose fitting, and played a little bit with the alignment thing, and I think I've got our alignment set at about 1 millimeter toe in. So I'm about to take it out to drive and see how it feels. I took it out before. I hadn't done the tie rods because I was waiting on parts, and it felt pretty good. The old tie rods, the dust boots were torn up, but they were really not that badly worn. So I'll grab the camera, we'll go under the car and get a look at new parts and a very oily engine, because this thing is leaking. Well, it's not dripping, but it's very wet underneath. Maybe upper oil pan, but also probably valve cover gaskets. So I'll even though that's not super easy on this because you got to take the intakes off. That'll be the first thing. All right, well, a few more weeks have gone by. I thought I did another segment to this video, but as I was putting it together, I did not finish it. And ashamed to say it's been over a month since I started this video. Car's been back on the road for a couple of weeks. I just put a new battery in it yesterday, so I've been driving it, but I've been carrying a booster around with me because the battery wouldn't hold a charge to start the car. But I haven't been driving it a lot. But I've got some shakedown miles on it, and it's driving pretty good. Suspension feels nice. Our steering feels really very, very good. Tires are still like 12 years old, so that's next on the agenda for this car. I thought we would do one little walk around underneath and show you what I did, but basically I would say the suspension is pretty good at this point. It's funny, in the month since this video started, I've actually gone and looked at 3 other 7 Series, 2 E38s and 1 E32, including one of those cars being down in Southern California, which I took a quick rundown a week ago Thursday, so about 10 days ago. And that was the most amazing 735 that I've ever seen as far as how well it was preserved. And it's actually now in the garage at home. So that'll be another video though. Not what I was really looking for, but, and I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with it because it is so nice. I really don't wanna do too much to it, but it's an automatic. It would be more fun with a 5-speed or with a V12 maybe, but we'll see. That one I've got a few little things just to get it, because it hasn't been driven a lot in a long time, so it needs a little bit of work to make it as good as it can be on the road. But this one here is driving good. It just looks horrible. Still no functioning from the climate control, other than if you do anything as far as activating vents or anything, you just get full heat all the time. So it's going to be a kind of a limited use car while the weather is cooler. But let me grab the camera and we'll kind of roll around underneath, and I'll show you what things are looking like. All right, so we got aluminum control arm, and behind that you can see the steel thrust arm. New sway bar link. Haven't done the brake lines yet, still have those. These didn't actually look that bad once I really got in there. Diamond spring, new just OE replacement type of shock for now. Pretty wet on the bottom. Same thing on the other side, of course. One thing I had to do was return my borrowed factory cats, because Julian needed them, so the aftermarket cats are back on the car. And then at the rear, not as much was done. Dog bones for sway bar end links, new fuel filters, and all the rubber. And let's see, harder to see, but let's try to move the light here. Suspension accumulators were replaced because the self-leveling still works in the rear. Found an E32 in a pick and pull up in Sacramento, and I pulled, actually this is out of an E39, but door rubber seals were replaced on the front 2 doors. E39 front doors are slightly long, so you can trim them to fit. Despite the neglect, this interior is really not a bad place to be. Actually smells really nice, leather soft, cleaned up really pretty well. Still a bunch of warnings. I think the brake linings, well, I haven't looked at the rear brakes, but it's either the wiring to the sensor or the sensor itself, or maybe something else. But the brake linings are actually fine. The fronts look like brand new. Got that halfway out. Actually, I'm going to bring the other radio home that I wanted to put in. Got another OBC to put in there too. I should probably do that while the radio is out because that's accessible at that point. Let's turn the volume down here so we don't have any copyright violations. about a Euro 500 SEL, nautical blue, gray interior, 160 something thousand miles. Not carbed. It was a Nevada car, so it'll never easily be registered in California, but I don't know if I'll ever do anything with it. So if anybody's looking for a cheap project that does run and drive, although I wouldn't drive it far, send me a message. But this is running pretty good. It's licensed, it's registered, or it's insured. Okay, so we made it home. Car's driving well. Gonna plug it into the GT1, scan it, see if I could reset an airbag fault because the airbag light is blinking. Under wide open throttle, I get this stumble at about 4,000 RPM where it kind of pauses and then starts coming back on, which could be mass airflow sensors or a sensor, but it triggered the check engine light, which then went away pretty quickly. But I'm going to see if there's any fault stored. So let's plug it in and see what we got. So we're plugged in to the GT1. This is supposed to be portable, but the battery is bad, so it's got to stay plugged into its dock. So, oops, 7 Series, E32, and let's just jump into the DME, see if we get any faults. It's not the fastest system, that's for sure. I don't know if I was upside down or not. I think it might have been. So do one bank at a time. Read fault to memory. No fault stored in cylinders 1 through 6. So let's check bank 2. And this could be the problem with these systems here. There may not be anything stored. No fault stored. Wonderful. Okay. Let's go to, let's see, status request, oxygen sensor, tank vent valve, CO potentiometer. No, that's not it. Special functions. Trying to see if I could look at live data. So that's somewhere in here. Let's pause this and we'll look and see. Okay, so no DME faults. There was a fault in the transmission computer, and it had to do with the throttle potentiometer. So I cleared it and it's not presently active. We'll see if it comes back, because that could be maybe something going on there when I get on the throttle. GT1's a good tool for an old car like this because it seems to connect with all the modules, and you could read faults, you could read software and activate components. Right now it's doing a basically clearing out everything, and then we'll see what comes back. So I think we'll end this one here. And thanks for watching. Sorry for the delay once again. I'll try to get a little better at this. If you like what I'm doing on these cars, give it a like and maybe share it. I'm at 300 and something followers right now, and if I get more, maybe I'll be more motivated to keep going. But I've got plenty of projects, so I will try to do better than I have lately. Thanks for watching again, and take care. Bye-bye.